Hello and welcome back to CornerSports. I'm Albert Asnavor, and in this video I'll be talking about some La Liga, some Serie A, some Bundesliga, some Premier League. We're going to be talking about the Turkish League, the Portuguese League. All of the important games that are happening this weekend that you need to pay attention to are going to be previewed right now. And the first game we're going to talk about, one of the biggest games of the weekend, is Napoli taking on Juventus. The old lady Juventus travels to São Paulo Stadium to take on Napoli, and this is a #1 versus #2 in a very important match for Napoli, and maybe an even more important match for Juventus. Now, when it comes to history, it's in Juventus's favor. Out of the last 14 games that Napoli has played against Juventus, they've only won 2 of them. It just so happens to be that Napoli has lost to Juventus most out of any other team in the league and conceded the most goals to them as well. So if history says anything, it says that Juventus will do really well in this matchup. Now, out of their 14 games played, Napoli has picked up 38 points, which is second best in history overall ever. The first is 39 points, and that's Juventus. They did that back in 2006. Both of these teams love to put shots on target, especially this season. Both of them have been scoring an outrageous amount of goals. They're on pace for some record-breaking stuff, and Juventus has scored in 43 consecutive games, which equals their record of goals scored in a consecutive amount, and they'll probably score in this game, but will they win? That's really the ultimate question. Juventus really needs to pick up this win and give Napoli that eventual O. They haven't lost a game all season, but can they do it? Gonzalo Higuain is traveling to play against his old team, and I'm looking for him to score this week, but I just have a hard time picking against Napoli at home this season. They look fantastic there, and their style of play is really great, and this Juventus team is not the same defensive unit as they were in years before, so I'm expecting a solid 2-1 win for Napoli. Mertens and Insigne have been lighting it up this season, and their speed can get them behind that defensive line. I'm looking for them to be the difference makers in this game. Let's move on and talk about Porto taking on Benfica. Boy, is this a heated matchup. The last time Benfica went away to Porto and actually beat him was in 2014, actually exactly almost 3 years ago on December 14th. So can they replicate that? Who knows? Porto sit pretty atop of the Portuguese league with 32 points and haven't lost a game the entire season. I think quite possibly the biggest beneficiary of this game is Sporting Lisbon. Benfica have been playing very solid football in the league. However, their Champions League form is abysmal, and let's not talk about that. In the league, they've been very solid considering they've sold some key pieces in the summer, whereas Porto have been performing fairly well in the Champions League as well as in the league. Like I said, they haven't lost the game, and this game, one is at 29 points, which is Benfica, one is 32, could be an early decider of how this season goes for both of these teams. If Porto's able to win this game, they'll go 6 points ahead of Benfica, which will be a tough climb for Benfica, but if Benfica is able to pick up points here, then they'll tie and be both on 32 points. And look, like I said, Sporting is the biggest beneficiary of this game. Regardless of what happens, either the team that's chasing them gonna drop points or the team ahead of them is gonna drop points. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens in this one, but I think this game will end in a 1-1 draw. Jonas for Benfica is having another amazing season. He already has 15 goals this season, and he's gonna look to score against Porto, but can he? This Porto team is awful at assisting goals. They've actually assisted 0 goals in the league this season, but I think both of these teams can put one behind the net. I'm looking for Jonas to score and Abu Bakar to see what he can do. 1-1 prediction. Let's get on to the next one. And we move into Saturday, and the first game I'm going to talk about is Bayern Leverkusen taking on Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund, who are coming off that awful performance against Schalke. I mean, first half and second, they're like the 2 different games were played. First half, they looked amazing against Schalke. Second half, they completely broke down, capitulated, and it just turned into a shit show. I mean, can you imagine being 4-0 up and losing? That doesn't even happen in Sunday League. I don't know how Peter Bosz still has a job considering the awful 2 months this team has had, but the Borussia Dortmund board have came out and supported him, so it looks like he's gonna stay at the club. But I mean, for how much longer? If he continues to not put in these performances and dropping points points. I mean, this team at one point was like 6 points ahead of Bayern Munich on top, hadn't conceded a goal in like forever, but now they just haven't picked up a win in their last like 8 games. It just looks like something completely went off the rails for this team, and we'll never know what it really is. On the other hand, you've got Bayer Leverkusen, who have not lost the game in 2 months, and I'm looking for that trend to continue, especially against this abysmal Borussia Dortmund defense. They're playing some really good football right now, and they're sitting only a point behind Borussia Dortmund, and if they're able to win this game, then they'll move into those Champions League spots, and I think that's exactly what they're looking for. Manager Heiko Herrlich, who took over this team this year, has been doing fantastic so far. I think he's exceeding expectations, and considering that they haven't lost the game in over 2 months, this team will be looking to pick up a win against this Borussia Dortmund team, and I think they'll do just that. They'll win 2-0 at home, pack that Borussia Dortmund away, and maybe sack their manager. Besiktas versus Galatasaray is one of the most heated rivalries in the world. I mean, both of these teams are doing fantastic. Besiktas, who signed plenty of great players over the summer, are doing really well in the Champions League, but in the league, not so much, and it's not surprising when you get all these European experienced players in. They're really motivated to play in the Champions League, but when it comes to the Turkish league, it's just not the same, and they haven't been performing as well. However, I'm sure they'll be up for this game. It's a derby. They're playing at home in front of their fans, and then they'll be looking to get a win against Galatasaray. Galatasaray sit alone at the top of the league with 29 points out of the last 13 games, and they've been playing really well. They don't have any European football to worry about, so this team has been playing really well in the league, and they'll be looking to pick up a win against Besiktas, especially because their fans are expecting trophies this season after a failed last season. They weren't able to deliver. Bafatemi Gomez has been scoring goals for fun for this team. He has 13 goals on 13 games this season, and this guy has, I mean, you know, we saw what he did with Swansea. He moved to Marseille, had a decent season, and got that money move to Turkey, where he's making more money than God. And right now, he's carrying this team. But can he do it against Besiktas? We're going to have to wait and see. But after that embarrassing loss against Besiktas Istanbul 5-1, which Galatasaray lost a few weeks back, I think this team playing another derby will look to bounce back and impress their fans. I think they won't win, but it'll be a solid 2-2 game. Look for some red cards, a bunch of yellow cards. When these two teams meet, they always play to a bloody, dirty games, and I'm not expecting anything different from it. I'm excited to watch this game, and you should too. Big game in Premier League this weekend is Arsenal taking on Manchester United. Both of these teams picked up somewhat convincing wins midweek. Manchester United beat Watford 4-2 away, which is a tough place to go away. They were up 3-0 at one point, and then it was a 3-2, but Lingard had that amazing goal. I mean, he picked it up about 80 yards away from the goal, dribbled it all the way down, and slotted it past the keeper. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I was watching that, and I was like, are you going to pass? He had Lukaku right on the wing, and I was like, he's going to have to pass, he's going to have to pass, he's going to have to pass. But he didn't pass. He took it on himself. He was surrounded by 4 defenders. He took it on, he slotted it away, did a little crip sign, whatever it was. But it's Manchester United with Pogba back, Ibra back, and you've got all the injuries, all the players coming together now. They look dangerous again. They look just like they looked in the beginning of the season, but they haven't beat a big team this season so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do against Arsenal away, whereas Arsenal picked up a very convincing win against Huddersfield on Wednesday, and I mean, a 5-0 win, doesn't matter who it's against, it's a convincing win, and I'm very happy for this team. But can they do it against Manchester United? Look, they beat Spurs, they beat Burnley with that last-minute goal, and now they've beat Huddersfield, and now they have to play Manchester United, and if they can win this game, then this team will start turning some heads and convincing their fans that maybe, just maybe, keeping Wenger wasn't such a bad idea. But can they do it? The last time Manchester United went to the Etihad, they lost 2-0, which was last season, May 7th. That was one of the last games of the season, and really it didn't matter because at that point Manchester United was not playing a strong squad. They were focusing on Europa League. But before that, they've been fairly successful against Manchester United in recent years, especially with the turmoil of managers, Moyes, and then Van Gaal, and then Jose Mourinho's first year. It was the instability sort of allowed Arsenal to creep in and pick up some wins against this team, but historically speaking, These are two big English teams. They love playing against each other. It's a huge rivalry. If you ask anyone in England, this is one of the biggest games in England, especially considering the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, both of these teams were battling for the title, and you had that invincible season. I mean, both of these teams have an insane history, and this is an important game for both of them. Because look, Liverpool is right on the heels of Arsenal, and Manchester United need to keep up with Manchester City, who look like they do not want to lose this season at all. I'm going to be making a video on whether or not they can be invincible this season. But do I think Arsenal can beat Manchester United, considering that Pogba's back in that midfield and maybe Lukaku will be looking to get back on that score sheet and that defense? You know Jose Mourinho can organize a team. Wenger and Mourinho don't like each other, and they'll be looking to beat one another, but I don't think a winner comes out of this one. I think this game ends in a 1-1 draw. I'm really hoping Wenger plays Ozil, Lacazette, and Sanchez, but I don't think he does. I think he might play Iwobi or Welbeck instead of Ozil. We'll see what happens, but he's going to have to keep it tight at the back, because if he plays Martial and Lingard, they can get behind that defense. But Mustafi's been playing fantastic this season. You know, Koscielny can do it, and Monreal, oh my God, has he been a revelation? We'll see what happens, but like I said, I'm predicting a 1-1 score for this game. And the last game I'm going to talk about is Athletic Bilbao taking on Real Madrid, a historically difficult place to go into Bilbao and pick up a win. And considering the poor form Real Madrid has been in the recent month, I'm not expecting an easy route for them in this one. But in the last 7 games, Athletic Bilbao has only won once against Real Madrid, and that was back in 2015. Other than that, they've lost 5 and drawn 1. Real Madrid, in their last 2 times they traveled to San Mamés, won 2-1, but both of those games were very tight. Do not underestimate this team at home. Trust me, they're a tough team to play at home. And when I studied in Spain, one thing you knew for sure, that when these big teams like Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid travel up to the north, these teams from the north really want to play well against them, because they just have a bone to pick with them. And I'm not expecting anything different. I think this Bilbao team will play hard, they'll play tough, they'll not allow any easy goals or shots. Real Madrid have been poor away, and this is the first time in forever that they haven't picked up a win in their 2 consecutive away games. The last time they went 3 consecutive games without picking up an away win was in 2008-2009 season, and we all know what happened then. Cristiano Ronaldo seems like he might be coming back into form. You know what I think is really funny? Messi hasn't scored in 7 consecutive games, but nobody's talking about it. But everybody wants to talk about how Cristiano Ronaldo is not scoring any goals. Both Ronaldo and Benzema have gotten back on the score sheet, and I'm expecting them to be playing really hard for this game. Do I think Real Madrid will win? Yeah, I think Real Madrid will win. Can you see the Real Madrid scarf in the mirror reflecting right there? If you can, it's right there. I think it'll be another 2-1 win for Real Madrid, like they've done in recent years in Bilbao. I'm expecting a brace from Cristiano Ronaldo and a goal from Aduriz. Thank you so much for coming back to CornerSports. Once again, I really appreciate you coming back and watching these videos. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave me a comment below. Who is your team playing this week? Are you excited for the game? Do you think they'll win? What do you think will happen? Go ahead and leave me a comment below. Let's start a discussion, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.